Welcome to Melissa Honey Speaks, where we chat about feminine magic, mindset, and manifesting. I'm your host, Melissa Honey. Welcome back to another episode of Melissa Honey Speaks. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about pleasure principles, So, over the weekend, I was watching some Facebook Live videos, and I just came across this woman who she's actually not a friend of mine, but I know her through other circles. And so she talked about, which was a very hilarious commentary she gave about men and about men and women and how men aren't pleasuring women like they should, or like they know how to. And she was complaining about it. And I thought that it was funny because she was right. And so in this whole commentary, she talked about men of different cultures all over the world and how almost their men are all the same. And we're talking about the idea of pleasure and receiving pleasure and giving pleasure and all these different things. And I thought it was interesting because what she was saying was that men aren't doing a good job. They're just not following through. They're not giving enough of what a woman is asking for. And I thought about it. Well, are we asking? Have we been taught to ask for what we want, and intimately in life and just in general? Have we been led to understanding that what we want is important and what we desire is important? So this is about the idea, the pleasure principles, meaning that you can ask for what you want, and if you're not asking for what you want, you may not get what you want. And then also because sometimes our upbringing tells us that sex may be only important to, or intimacy may be only important to men. Men like it one way, and women are more into cuddling and hugging and all that. But in essence, men and women both want the same things. And I think that oftentimes when we talk about the idea of intimacy and pleasure and sex and all that, we think that sometimes in some traditions or in some cultures, or even just between the sexes, men and women, that we are taught that sex is for men, and men want more sex than women want more sex, and women want more kisses and hugs and cuddling and like that. And that's not necessarily true in every case. So my thought was, are we telling our partners what we want? Are we expecting them to know what we want based on what they've been taught? Because men and women are sometimes taught different things. We're taught that, like I said, men want have this one idea of intimacy, and women have another idea of intimacy, and they're not communicating to each other what they want specifically. And there is a breakdown in communication. So in thinking about pleasure, are you asking for what you want? Do you know that you can ask for what you want? Or are you afraid? Sometimes women are afraid to ask for what they want because they don't want to be seen too over the top. They don't want to be called any names or being thought of as being a freak or whatever the case may be. So the idea is that when there is something that you're not getting, whether it's in intimacy or whether it's in life, are we asking for what we want? Are we saying, I like this, I want this, and are we demanding our partners to perform in such a way that is giving us the pleasure that we desire? Or are we just letting things happen the way they are happening, and we're just unsatisfied or unfulfilled? Because guess what? This goes back to what we're manifesting. It goes back to the idea that if we're not asking for what we want, we're not saying what we want, then we're not going to get it. And the universe is going to say, oh, well, she must like it. She must want more of this. So you're going to get more of that. So in the commentary, she talked about the idea of it just intimacy being trash, and she wanted better intimacy. She wanted more intimacy, but I understand, because what she was saying was 100% true. So I feel like we should, but then I feel like also we should be asking and telling and making our demands known, because if we're quiet, they say a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So we have to talk about it. And if we're not having the conversations and we're not communicating what we want, are we expecting our partners and our our lovers to give us what we want without actually saying what we want? Are we expecting to have our minds read? Because of course, and we don't even know, sometimes we don't even know what our partners want because we're not having that conversation. We expect each other to know what we want based on what? I don't know, based on ideals in our minds and our thoughts of what we've seen, what we've heard. We know that one partner is different from the next partner. So are we having the conversation? Are we saying what we want? And if we're not saying what we want, then that goes back to what we're manifesting in our lives. So we have to understand that in order to manifest more pleasure or draw in more pleasure, we also have to know what we want. We have to ask for it in ways that we have to talk about it. So we have to use our voice to say what we want. We have to use our communication skills to say what it is that we want and being upfront about that. Because if we're not only are we not going to get the pleasure and the joy and the love that we want, but we're not going to get the money we want. We're not going to get the jobs we want. We're not going to get the partners we want. We're not going to get the things we want because we're not asking for what we want. And we have to understand that if we're not asking for it, that's the first part of manifestation, is asking for what we want. We want to ask of what we want. That's the first step. And if we're not asking, we're never going to get what we want. So this is about asking for the pleasure that you want, asking for the love that you want, asking for the things that you want, and not necessarily, and it can be, of course, asking your partner or telling your partner what you want, what you desire, but also is about asking yourself, is this what I like? Do I want this? So everything starts with ourselves, and then we start to talk about it with our partners and our lovers and our people. So when we're doing that, we're showing the universe that I know what I want. This is what I want. And this is how I'm going to attract what I want, by saying what I want and not feeling like I have to hide my desires or my choices or my likes or whatever it may be. If we're not hiding it, then we can get more of it. If we're not keeping our mouth shut on what we want, then we can get more of what we want, because we're not just letting it happen by default. We're asking for what we want in all areas of our life. So the first part of manifestation is to ask. We have to ask for what we want in order for us to manifest what we really want in life, no matter what area it is. So, in teaching women how to draw in more pleasure, more joy, more love, more beauty, more prosperity, it starts with asking. Everything starts with asking. So how are you going to ask for what you want in life? Are you going to just let life happen to you? Or are you going to start asking for what you want and demanding that it come to you, because you draw everything to you, because you are like a magnet? So remember to ask for what you want in all areas of your life, so that you can manifest everything that you desire, whether it be big things, whether it be small things, no matter what size it is, how big you think it is. You got to start with asking. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Be sure to follow Masani Speaks on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart, Deezer, and you can also catch me on YouTube.